Hey guys, so this is the power of mind, the hidden power of the mind. So what is the mind? I'm really excited about this one. This is really the kind of the core of my work. It's delving into a little bit of cognitive science and a little bit of quantum physics. You know, because what is the mind? What does the mind do? Well, the mind thinks, but what is thinking? What is a thought? Well, thought is vibration. You know, it is a vibration, or thought generates a vibration, and vibration attracts and creates a response to stimuli in our environment. And some schools of thought, it can actually be used to influence the world around us. But you know, what is thought and what is the mind? In Vedic philosophy, it's called chitta. And that refers to the subconscious mind. It refers to, you know, kind of in essence, it's like a lake where it has unlimited potential, right? And your thoughts come, and you know, each thought makes a ripple in the water. And so, you know, the idea that thought, mind, and the subconscious mind are all aspects of self. This is an important concept that we're going to explore in later modules. But you know, for the purpose of kind of getting into what is the mind in terms of our common set of language, I would describe the mind as something that consists not just of the physical aspects. It's not just the brain or the nervous system, but it really goes down to the deeper faculties of influence at play. And it's really coming from the physical and spiritual realm. You know, it's like, you know, the mind itself is... It is the context of analysis, and so you know, it relates to the mental faculties that stimulate us as human beings to interpret experiences, and it causes us to behave in certain ways. So the mind really is it's the brain, it's the nervous system, but it's also the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspect of the body. And then when you get into the spiritual mind, you know, the spirit, you know, transcends the flesh, so it's kind of born. The Bible actually says that spirit is born of flesh, so when you reach a certain point in your spiritual maturity, I believe that you'll understand that the spiritual mind is kind of this pervasive energy that kind of flows through you out into the universe. And so the mind really is, you know, it's really broken down into multiple parts. There is the physical mind, which is your it's a biological masterpiece, right? Your brain is this complex, you know, a set of organs and glands, and you know, it's very fascinating. There's different parts of the brain: the hippocampus and the thalamus and the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, and you know, essentially the physical mind is the brain and the nervous system and all those you know, biological components. And the conscious mind is really your mental faculties. That's really the capacity and energy, the energy behind the ideas that are kind of flow through and inhabit that physical mind, right? You know, but where they come from is a certain level of programming. So a certain level of programming generates the synapses and the you know, the chemical you know, the chemical explosions, if you will. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. You know, the chemical reactions that occur in the brain from, you know, different compounds. You know, so the conscious mind really is the mind that's awake. It's the mind that's in the here and now. And what's interesting is that, you know, the subconscious mind, if you dig into a lot of the research in cognitive science and, you know, kind of a lot of the Bob Proctor or Psi Seminar stuff, you'll look at how the subconscious mind is really running the show, but a lot of times we're not aware of what's actually in the subconscious mind. So people have a lot of programs. So there's a lot of programs that occur in the level of the subconscious mind, which is why it's like Groundhog's Day, right? If you have a subconscious program about a certain thing or a certain type of people or a certain event, it'll keep looping over and over and over and over, and it'll almost be so obnoxious to the point where you just can't stop thinking about it because your your subconscious mind keeps bumping up against this experience, and it's like a constant barrage of the same experience or the same kind of like deja vu. Now that's a hint of a subconscious program, because you may be thinking in a certain way. And now if you actually, this is where it gets really unique, because those subconscious programs can occur in the mind, in the brain, and there's almost an alignment between reality and the chemical reaction in the brain and the physical structure of your biological components in your brain. These things are all aligned, and this is how people program habits. If you think about a habit as kind of a general program, but there's a lot of subconscious programs that happen really, really, really deep. And the more you get into to understanding the mind, the reason this is so important is because if you can't get success in a certain area of life, a lot of times there is that subconscious program. And so this is really the key to unlocking results or new experience in life. And this is why I'm talking about this subject. You're probably thinking, I want to be successful. I want to make money. I want to have good relationships. I want to do this. Why are you talking about the mind? Who cares about the mind? Well, I think you're starting to see now. And if you start looking into quantum physics and you start looking into the mechanics of how, reality interacts with your position as the observer in your reality, then you'll start to understand. And by the way, we'll have to talk about this because, a quick digression, I just have to go down this path because there's this experiment in quantum physics called the double slit experiment. Basically, scientists figured out, hey, they shine a light, it comes in two forms. It comes in particles and it comes in waves. And they wanted to find out what makes it become a particle versus a wave. And they put a piece of metal or something with two slits in it. They shine a light and they look at it and they're like, well, it's generating waves. Or they look, and in another experiment it's generating particles, and they try to understand, why is it behaving why is the experiment behaving in this way? Because in one sense they're expecting waves and they see waves, and in the other sense they're expecting particles and they see particles, and they realize that when they remove the observer, when they remove the conscious observer, it occurred as both. So what that means is that what they determined is this is where science is starting to open up that can of worms, right? But this is important for us to really get into my work, is understanding that, essentially your position as an observer is shaping your reality, and that's the bottom line. And so they discovered that in this experiment that by observing light in a certain pattern, basically their expectation formed the result of the experiment. So light waves occur it's impacted by consciousness. It's impacted by human consciousness as an observer. So if you're observing your own reality, what are the implications of having subconscious programs in your day-to-day life? Well, that means you're creating everything around you. You're creating the results in everything you see. You're creating everything all the time. So the amount of visual stimulation that your brain is processing on a day-to-day basis is astronomical. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And so, understanding the subconscious program is so deep that, the reason that I'm just starting to talk about the mind now is so you understand that no matter what it is you want to achieve, no matter what you want to be successful at, you have to understand the correlation between the mind and its role in reality and so that's your role. So number one, first of all, you have to take complete responsibility for it. I'm sorry for everything that's ever happened to you, everything that you've ever gone through, good, bad, great, better, worse, indifferent. It's all been a result of your mind, your state of mind, and your interaction with reality. Because the mind is this component in reality, and we share it. We share reality, and so this is where things get really unique when your realities clash, because nobody really knows what reality is, right? We're just kind of like, we're experiencing our own reality, and this is and understanding the mind is really the reason I go into it is because It's about understanding how you can take control over your own mental faculties. This is what Napoleon Hill says, is that, in order to achieve success, you have to take control over your mental faculties. And that's really what this is about. Understanding the mechanics of it is going to give you a deeper level of control. And then when you can start to identify subconscious patterns and conscious patterns and change them and start changing and molding those conscious patterns into ways of thinking that serve you, then you are very well on your path to success. And it takes a certain level of empowerment, and that empowerment is driven by the knowledge of the mechanics. So this is kind of my overview of the mind, and then we're going to go, if you go into the module that goes into the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the noosphere and all that, it's going to go into a lot more detail. So if you have questions, drop me an email, strategicgrowthexperts@gmail.com. And I'll be glad to answer them for you. See you on the next one.